Hi, this is Beccs. You're listening to the Your Morning Coffee podcast with Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart. Weekly music news for the new music business.
An op-ed piece by Will Page for Music Business Worldwide. We've got to rethink music festivals.
And from Rob Abelow and his blog, Where Music's Going, the new model for building crazy fandom. 8 lessons from Fred again.
And from Billboard Magazine, record labels have tried to get a radio performance right for decades. Is anything different this time? Well, we certainly hope it is. We've been talking about this for a very long time, but hey, we're glad you're here. We've got so much to talk about today, so let's get going. We're going to spin up the turntable, put the stylus down, listen to the crackle, and here we go.
Stand by for transmission.
This is London calling.
Wake up! The revolution is at hand!
Your morning coffee is on the air. On the air. On the air. On the air. On the air.
Standing by.
Your morning coffee, the weekly music news for the new music business. It's the highly curated, agitated, advocated, moderated, and liberated digital music information that you need to know. We are your digital music authority. And now from our studios in Hollywood, California, here's your hosts, Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
I got rage in my veins. Please don't make me explain. Sorry, I'm not myself. It's like I'm somebody else. Think I should be left alone, but I'm not safe on my own. Hope rage in my veins. It's taking over my soul. Every day I fight the feeling. Every day I fight the feeling. Maybe I could break free. Stop the clock, let my heart breathe. Make amends before we start to bleed. Something up there making me believe that I got rage in my veins. Please don't make me explain. It's trying to tear us apart, but I keep holding on to whatever little piece I found. In your arms I try to keep it.
Wow, that is such a great song. That is the artist Beccs, B-E-C-C-S, Beccs, and the song is called Rage in My Veins. That is from the new Stay Moist EP, which is out now.
Indeed, Beccs is an indie pop artist hailed as one of Nylon Magazine's favorite cool girls. She's also an advocate for something near and dear to our hearts, and that's mental health.
Yes, sir. We talk about mental health a lot. It's very near and dear to our hearts. And I wanted to share this short Instagram post that Beccs had up. I think Symphonic posted it, where she talks about her approach to mental health. Let's listen in.
I began songwriting when I had an eating disorder. It was like the thing that got me through those years of my life. And so songwriting has always been a means of survival, a means of working through, a means of therapy and recovery and getting through being human. Taking care of my mental health looks like drinking water, being in therapy, moving my body, doing my shoulder exercises because chronic pain can really take a toll on mental health. I've definitely reached the edge many times. It's very scary, and I think there are ways to prevent that. One is community. and sustaining a language for mutual support with your friends and family. I realized I needed help because I had some really scary thoughts going on inside. But I realized when I'm in the right habitat and I have rituals in my life and community, things work so much better. And I think we have to remember that. Like, it's not always this that is broken. Like, humans are complicated people, and we need like a whole soil, irrigation, sun, water, light system to be okay. And the world is not always set up for that. I'm very fortunate to see a therapist, to have friends I can call on. Kind.
And if he doesn't do it,
Again, that is Beccs. The 5-song EP is Stay Moist, and that's out now.
Speaking of mental health and wellness, a must-read, and we talk about our Your Morning Coffee book club, and the book is Harder to Breathe, a memoir of making Maroon 5, losing it all, and finding recovery. That's by Ryan Dusick.
Yeah, we've talked to Ryan before, and this book is so good, and it's been out for a little while, but I just wanted to remind folks, it's such a great read. 2 decades after Songs About Jane, Maroon 5's original drummer, Ryan Dusick, he presents an unflinching, unfolding examination of fame, anxiety, mental health, and recovery.
Yeah, so back in the 90s, Dusick and his friends Adam Levine and Jesse Carmichael dreamed about making it big, and against all odds, they did. This book recounts Maroon 5's founding and their road to becoming Grammy-winning superstars, told through the eyes of the former drummer, Ryan Dusick.
Yeah, Ryan takes readers behind the scenes of the band's meteoric rise to success and the grueling demands that came with it, as well as his personal struggles with anxiety, addiction, and his ultimate departure from the band. Again, the book is called Harder to Breathe, a memoir of Maroon 5 losing it all and finding recovery. Highly recommended.
Yeah, great stuff. Hey, by the way, we've got 2 special bonus episodes coming soon. Number 1 is our Your Morning Coffee podcast vinyl roundtable. That's got Michael Kurtz from Record Store Day, Billy Fields from the Warner Music Group, and Bill Hine from Pressing Business. Fun episode that was.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Can't wait to get that out this week. Another one that's coming up is, we've got Luminate's 2024 mid-year report coming soon. They use data to look into music's latest trends so far in 2024. And Jamie Markinet is going to join us again for a special Your Morning Coffee podcast episode. And he's going to help us break it all down.
Break it all down. The Luminate Mid-Year Music Webinar is coming Tuesday, July 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 Pacific time. Luminate experts Jamie Markinet, who recently has been promoted to VP of Music Insights and Industry Relations just last week. Big congratulations to that,
Yeah.
Jamie. And Haley Jones, head of Independence, will talk through their 2024 Mid-Year Music Report, giving context to the data that has shaped the music landscape so far this year. Looks to be really interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait. Before we get into the stories, AI continues to be such a hot topic. And there was this article in Music Tech, and the headline was, Human-Created Works Must Be Respected. 50 major music tech brands sign Principles for Music Creation with AI. So over 50 of these global technology companies and associations have put together their support, for Roland and UMG's Principles for Music Creation with AI. The participating companies advocate for the responsible use of AI in all music creation and to, quote, protect the essence of music, its human spirit, end quote.
Right. So the 7 principles for music creation with AI are as followed. Number 1 is we believe music is central to humanity. Number 2 is we believe humanity and music are inseparable. Number 3 is we believe that technology has long supported human artistic expression and applied sustainably. AI will amplify human creativity. Number 4 is we believe that human-created works must be respected and protected. Number 5 is we believe that transparency is essential to responsible and trustworthy AI. Number 6 is we believe the perspectives of music artists, songwriters, and other creators must be sought after and respected. And number 7, we are proud to help bring music to life.
Yeah, I spoke to Meng Quok this week about this initiative. Meng is a friend of the podcast. He's the CEO and founder of Caldecott Music Group, and that's BandLab, BandLab Technologies. Let's listen into my conversation with Meng Quok. Meng, it's so good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jay, it's so great to be back. I really appreciate all the kind words you've said about BandLab over the last couple of years, and great to be back here.
Thank you. So over 50 music organizations have thrown their support behind the principles for music creation with AI. Tell us about those core commitments.
Look, at BandLab, I think it's been pretty evident from the things that we've been doing. We care a lot about the space for creators, especially the emerging ones. And so, what we've done with the principles for music creation with AI and joining these 50 music organizations that we're very proud to be part of, it's really providing essential guidelines to ensure that AI tools enhance rather than overshadow human creativity.
So BandLab has been a leader in the creator economy for quite some time. How has the company approached the responsible use of AI in music creation?
So for us, when it comes to empowering the next generation of creators, which we've been very, very fortunate to be able to build a product that's been able to do so, but also, think about the ways that they grow, not just in terms of creating their content, but also creating their stories as artists. Really, creating artists and creating, helping them create their art is a big part of what we're trying to do. So emphasizing the protection of artistic integrity and, ethical industry are just a very, very strong, important sort of focus for us. And so in terms of the things that we've done, not just in terms of the way we develop AI ourselves, but really taking part in initiatives like, leading the way for music creation platforms with the Human Artistry Campaign, something we're very proud of, being the first music creation platform to actually join. Incredible initiative there. Obviously, we announced, I think it was last year now, a strategic partnership with UMG around AI, and really, again, focus on the principles of empowering and all the things that we do at BandLab, but really also very essentially around protection of the artists and not just the artists of today, but really, again, the artists of tomorrow who are the ones who suffer the most. And obviously, putting our name behind and a lot of the brands that also live within both BandLab Technologies, but also wider within Caldecott Music Group on the Vista musical instrument side, putting our name behind the collaboration between UMG and Roland. We're very, very honored to be, again, at the same table and feel that there is a voice that we've generated through the product that we've created over the years. And therefore, therein lies the responsibility for us to use that voice to support creators as much as we can, and speak for those who can't be spoken for.
It's been fun watching you grow and innovate, and we'll continue to cheer from the sidelines. So where can our listeners learn more about BandLab and the principles for music creation with AI?
So you can visit the website about the UMG and the Roland collaboration. We'll definitely share the link in the podcast notes. And with regards to everything that we're doing from a BandLab Technologies perspective at BandLabTechnologies.com, as well as obviously if you search the App Store or the Android Store, getting involved with BandLab is just either BandLab.com in your browser or downloading the app. It's free to get started, and if you do well, you could be the next major label artist.
Thanks, Meng. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Jay.
Oh, that's great stuff. So the following companies have signed on. That's BandLab Technologies, Splice, Beatport, Focusrite, Output, Lander, Waves, Eventide, Native Instruments, the NAM organization, and a couple of great synthesizer companies, Sequential and Oberheim. Great stuff.
Yeah, really great stuff. Another thing that was kind of cool this week, a big shout out, Your Morning Coffee shout out to Randy Zimmerman at the Symphonic blog. We include her work almost every week. This week I included several of her really great posts. One was called How to Get Nominated for the 2025 Grammys as an Artist. The other one was How Proper Metadata Improves Your Music's Chance of Success. And the third one was Useful Social Media Management Tools for Musicians in 2024.
So Symphonic also posted the TikTok guide for the music industry, and that's included in this week's Your Morning Coffee newsletter. You can follow Randy and the Symphonic blog over at blog.symphonic.com.
Yes, sir.
And a big shout out to our sponsors, Jay. We could not do it without them. They are the wind beneath our wings, if you will, to use a song title.
A special thank you to our newest sponsor, Music.ai. Music.ai is a trailblazing AI-powered music and audio platform offering an expansive suite of over 50 stackable AI audio solutions. Want to change the tempo or pitch of your song, adjust instruments or vocals, mute background noise in a movie? Music AI makes that super easy. Embraced by record labels, agencies, top tech firms, and developers, Music.ai is synonymous with audio innovation. With over 45 million users, their tools process over 2 million minutes of audio every day. They can process yours. Visit Music.ai to get started.
Yeah, great stuff over there. The Your Morning Coffee podcast is also brought to you by our friends over at Bandzoogle. For over 20 years, Bandzoogle has made it easy to build a stunning website and online store for your music. Now they've added a brand new EPK plan so that musicians can create a professional single-page electronic press kit in minutes. All the features you need to design an EPK are already built in, including fully customizable templates, preset EPK page layouts, music players, images, text bio, and video embeds, a gig calendar and press quotes, and access to Bandzoogle's award-winning support team 7 days a week. The new EPK plan starts at just $6.95 per month, and Your Morning Coffee podcast listeners can go over to bandzoogle.com to try it free for 30 days. Then use the promo code MorningCoffeeEPK, that's all one word, to get 10% off the first year of the new EPK plan subscription. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code MorningCoffeeEPK.
Yeah, and thank you to Hypebot. Since 2004, Hypebot has chronicled the new music industry and the trends and technologies that are changing how music is discovered, consumed, marketed, and monetized. Edited daily by founder Bruce Houghton with help from Ilana Bonilla, Hypebot and sister blog Music Think Tank are published by live music discovery and marketing platform Bandsintown.
Indeed, Bandsintown, over 80 million live music fans trust Bandsintown to get personalized concert alerts, recommendations, and messages from their favorite artists. It's the #1 artist service platform connecting over 590,000 artists with their superfans. Managers, labels, agencies, and artists access their own dashboard to manage and promote their tour dates across all platforms.
Yeah, and a special thank you to Billboard Pro. Want to know what everybody in the music business is talking about? Get in the know with Billboard Pro. Billboard is offering Your Morning Coffee readers and listeners a special 50% discount off of the price of your subscription. Just click on the link in Your Morning Coffee.
Indeed. So big thanks to our amazing sponsors, Bandzoogle, Music.ai, Hypebot, and Bandsintown. Boy, we certainly appreciate it. Well, and let me just say, every week I get to hang out with the 33rd hardest working man in show business. Not only is a hard worker, he's certainly a handsome lad. He is Jay Gilbert. He's a music industry consultant, curator of the weekly Your Morning Coffee newsletter, and a former executive with Universal Music, Sony Music, and Warner Music Groups.
Thank you. And I get to do this show every week with my good friend Mike Etchart, longtime host of Sound and Vision Radio, formerly of SST Records, Warner Music, Capital EMI, and Universal Music Groups.
Well, now, Jay, what do you say we jump into the stories? Our first one is an op-ed by Will Page for Music Business Worldwide. We've got to rethink music festivals. MBW Views is a series of exclusive op-eds from eminent music industry people with something to say. The following comes from our good friend Will Page, the author of Pivot, former chief economist of Spotify and PRS for Music, and a fellow of the London School of Economics. Page analyzes the cancellation of 50, that's right, 50 music festivals in the UK so far this year, and what it indicates about the live music business moving forward.
Yeah, what a great piece. Will says that, recall the adage, build one too many houses and you collapse the property market? Buckle up, as festivals are now feeling that heat. I spoke to Will about this op-ed this last week and the state of the touring business. Let's listen in.
All right, Jay Gilbert, how are we doing, boss?
Will Page, thank you so much for joining me today. Always great to see you, my friend.
Great to be back on this wonderful podcast, a podcast that makes the undigestible digestible.
I'm taking that. And that's our new slogan from now on. You wrote an op-ed for Music Business Worldwide this past week, and it had the headline, "We've got to rethink music festivals." I was surprised to learn that 50 festivals have been canceled so far in this year in the UK. Last year, I thought the outlook seemed a little bit rosy for the live sector. What happened?
Well, let's just update your numbers before we get to the meat of it. It's 53 now.
Okay.
Not just festivals. Pearl Jam have just cancelled their White Hart Lane stadium concert. So it's stadiums too. So a little bit of history, then we'll get straight to the meat of the matter. Last year, Boomtown, streaming up 10%, live up 20+%. Everything's going great. The value that consumers spend on British music, be it concert tickets, be it Spotify subscriptions, is now approaching 5 billion. Jay, when I first met you, it was less than 2.5 billion. This is going through the roof. But those Quentin Tarantino movies where everything suddenly stops?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like right now, because everything's the music stopped and now we're scratching our heads. And why? We're scratching our heads because demand for festivals, and as we're learning stadiums, and as we're also learning Formula One Grand Prix, you can buy tickets for 40% of face value. We're learning that in our country and your country, where arenas are pretty much empty right now, demand has softened and we're off a cliff. And the promoters are staring into the barrel of a gun. And the purpose of this article that you gratefully cite is not to take Schadenfreude and take, get excited about the problems of industry. I desperately want to help work out why. And I very humbly say, Jay, at the very start of the piece, what an economist can do is frame the problem, let the readers, let the listeners of this show try and explain the problem. I don't want to cross that line. That's for your audience to figure out what's happened here. But it's happening and it's hurting.
Well, you frame the problem beautifully. You explore 5 issues, 3 of which you list as sort of obvious: costs, supply, demand. But talk about those and these other 2, culture and weather. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, and we have 5 fingers on one hand, so let me just work through those fingers right now. So costs, I'm hearing promoters say, quite frankly, my costs of production of a festival have gone up 50% and my ticket prices have gone up 10%. Now, you don't need a master's in economics to understand what happens. Either you scale back production, jack up prices, or call it quits. 53 festivals have called it quits. So the cost side is huge. And I know that is an American relevant point as well. I can't comment on American figures, but if you speak to promoters in the US, the production costs are way ahead of the rate of inflation. On the supply side, it gets interesting. I mean, I'll start with that old adage of you build one too many houses, you collapse the property market. Maybe there's just too many of them. Maybe the bounce back from the pandemic was a bit too fast. Or as Richard Kramer, who I know you listen to a lot, says, we got ahead of our skis and now we need to keel back a bit. But I think something else is interesting, which is how we listen to music on our phones versus how we go to music in festival fields. So in the past, Jay listens to his music, I listen to my music, but we both listen to the radio. We have common ground. And that common ground means we both go to the main stage on the main night of that festival and we sing the same songs together. Now Jay's got his algorithm and I've got my algorithm. We have nothing in common musically. So we have no desire to go to the main stage together. And Glenn MacDonald, a great friend, a mentor, I think one of the pioneers of digital music, he came in on the article to give a great quote when he looked at what does it mean when you look at a multi-genre festival in the past versus the present. In the past, who are the Killers? Oh, my friend at university liked the Killers. I'll like the Killers too. I'll go to that festival. Now, when you look at a multi-genre festival, how does he say, let me quote him for a word, a genre unfocused festival poster lineup starts to just look like a playlist that has been made and personalized for somebody else. Stop, press pause, think, people. What he's saying is, if you're not in my rabbit hole, like my algorithm is, then I'm not in yours, and we lose that communal experience. I think that's a big one. Then I'll just cover off demand real quick, and then we'll take awards because the obvious ones. I think the demand side is interesting because, if wallets are tight, inflation's high, everyone's getting pushed into higher thresholds. There's a mortgage time bomb ticking in this country. There's probably a mortgage time bomb ticking in your country. We've seen that before. What happens? You rationalize. So maybe you've got your outlay. Maybe you've got a holiday that you've budgeted for, a city break, dining out, a favorite act in a festival. When you have to cut back, it's not a race to the bottom, Jay. It's a race to the top. The most expensive wins. So maybe, just maybe, I will go and see Taylor Swift, but I haven't got the bucks left over to go to that festival. And I've got a funny feeling that rationalization, that race to the top is taking place where certain stadium acts are succeeding, but a lot of festival acts are faltering.
Okay, we've done cost, supply, demand. What about the other two, culture and weather?
I'm not equipped to talk about culture. I'm just the dour, pessimistic Scottish economist. But I try, because when I researched the piece, one of the most frequently touted reasons why people weren't going to festivals, and when I say people, let's just get the cohort right, late teens, early 20 peoples weren't going to festivals, is because, quotes, they didn't feel they had a friend they could go with. Ouch. Now, this is an age of social media. They may have hundreds, thousands of friends on their social network accounts, but they didn't feel they had a friend with a pulse they could sit in a field with and enjoy singing along to a band on a main headline stage. So I just want to trigger off a couple of thoughts here. Firstly, is it, to quote Katie Vitalis from Amazon Music, that in social media we feel a claustrophobia of abundance? We have so many friends, we don't actually know who our true friends are. Just sow that seed quickly. There's something there. Over to the anthropologist to explain it. Secondly, if you think about the age cohort that you're trying to get to go to festivals today, they're the people that were worst hit by the pandemic back in 2020. They're the people who are going from high school to university, or they're the people who are graduating from university right now. That's your target market. And I wonder whether the wounds of the pandemic, which for me and you, we've healed, that healing process for those people might be still a work in progress. And I think that's a big one. And then the last one, which may apply to Americans, it may not, it depends which state you're in. But over here in Britain, I'll summarize the weather for the first 6 months this year. It has pissed down. It has rained for fun. Now, why is an economist talking about the weather? The choices consumers are making has to be influenced by the weather. And the Reading Festival is asking for 325 quid. Wizz Air is offering to fly people in London to Lisbon, Portugal for 30 quid. And if you've had 6 months of rain and you're offered £300 for 2 days in Reading or 30 quid for a week in Lisbon, where's the sun going to shine? And as Eleanor Joseph, the very famous social commentator, says, today people have got less money and more choice. And they're exercising that by going south and saving as opposed to festivals and paying.
Talk about Glenn McDonald's quote that you added to your article.
He's saying that when you look at a multi-genre festival poster, that is a poster with lots of different types of bands playing lots of different types of music. In the past, that was appealing. In the present, that's not appealing because it just looked like that playlist created for someone else. I think the way I framed it in the article is we're looking at festivals as a field of niches now. So the algorithm trains us to stay in our own comfort zone, in our own rabbit hole, and not to explore others. We become first to that. And the way I like to think about it is if I go shopping, that is, a supermarket is like Spotify. It has everything you could possibly want. That's why it's called not a market, but a supermarket. You might go to that supermarket, but you might also choose to go to the specialist butcher to buy those steaks. But hold on, the supermarket sells those steaks, but you're willing to add the hassle factor of going to two places, not one, but to go to a specialist butcher to get those steaks. Now, specialist butcher festivals, like the Love Supreme Festival this weekend in Glynde, East Sussex, they sold out. They're great because they're saying, we do jazz, we do soul. We're a specialist butcher doing jazz and soul. But the multi-genre festivals trying to please all people at the same time, they're struggling. So the pendulum swings away from the supermarket and towards a specialist butcher. That can be a good thing, but it's also an algorithm thing. And I would toss the baton over to Glenn McDonald to make sense of that observation.
Remind our audience about the great work that you do, your book, Pivot, my favorite podcast, as you mentioned, Bubble Trouble with our friend Richard Kramer, et cetera, et cetera. Talk about where they can learn more about you, Will.
So the website's pivotaleconomics.com. The podcast is Bubble Trouble, available on Spotify, Apple, and all the RSS distributors. And you'll find my work posted on the website through the podcast, but also contributing to Music Business Worldwide, to articles like Music Ally, and also to the Financial Times and the BBC as well. But pivotaleconomics.com, that's HQ. What you can't find there ain't worth looking for.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon.
Wow. Leave it to an economist to break it down. Break it down.
Yeah.
So well. Great stuff. And, listen, I mean, I've been spending a lot of money this summer on going to shows, and, I only have so much money. Much as I hate to say that, but it's I get it. I totally get it. All right, well, let's jump into our second story, Jay. It's from Rob Abelow from his Where's Music Going blog, the new model for building crazy fandom. 8 lessons from Fred again.
Fred again. That's Frederick John Philip Gibson, known professionally as Fred again, or simply Fred. He's an English record producer, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and a DJ.
So our friend Rob begins with welcome artists and builders. Today we're diving into one of the best recent examples of fan building in music and what we can learn from it. So let's take a look. How to build a loyal fan base.
Right. Fred again is the model for music's future, according to Rob. He's a masterclass in building fandom, redefining what fan interactivity and involvement look like. Things like direct fan relationships, community over everything, and more of a friendom than a fandom. Here are all the things Fred is doing right and what we can learn from him. 8 lessons on how to build a loyal AF fan base.
So number 1, build direct relationships. Fred is focused on direct fan engagement from day one, prioritizing real-time personal interactions and lean-in locations over mass broadcast channels. So such as Discord and Reddit communities, exclusive WhatsApp chats, and one-to-one direct messaging. The results may appear smaller at first, but it creates genuine community, a true understanding of your fans, and the ability to activate them in real time. Everything builds on this foundation. It's not just about big numbers, it's about deep interactions.
Absolutely. Number 2, embrace authenticity. He's pouring beers behind the bar, attending quiz night with fans, his music samples from everyday moments, creating a collaborative diary. Things like self-shot videos, voice memos from friends, sharing FaceTimes with collaborators. There's no pretense. It's never about being slick or coming across as bigger, better, and more famous than you really are. And we're all along for the ride.
So how about number 3? Community comes first. For the launch of Actual Life 3, Fred asked the most engaged fans in his Discord to host 18 launch parties across the globe. So that including setup events, spread the word, and listen to the album one day early. So superfans became the central nodes, rallying the community to connect more deeply in person with Fred as the context. First, feed the community, then the masses.
So good. Number 4, reward fandom. Before his Los Angeles Coliseum show, Fred hosted a secret listening party for 150 fans he found and invited who went to his first LA show in 2021. He greeted each fan personally. He handed out mugs of tea and he previewed new songs. All 2 days before his first arena show in front of 77,000 people. Show fans they're seen, show them they're valued.
Right. So number 5 is get fans involved. Fred is constantly including fans in his process, asking for input and cultivating community-generated content, such as voting on which tracks to release, asking fans to suggest local venues, video recaps from the dance floor, and co-creating material. He says, don't serve fans content, make them part of the journey.
Yeah, here's something that Fred added. Fred said, it feels totally like an extension. We've done shows before where I've had my friend Theo go out in the queue and, film people and ask them questions about random things. Then he'll give me the videos and I'll make a little piece in the next hour before we go on stage and it'll come up on the screen. I love the feeling of those kind of things. When we turn the camera onto the crowd, it puts the here and now in the context of all these other moments that are being flashed around as well. And I had an example. I did some photography for the rock band Kiss, and one of the things I would do before a show is take photos of people who were arriving in Kiss makeup or, in the outfits. And then I would rush those over to their guy, and he would put them up on the screen prior to them playing live. And I'm telling you, those people lost their minds. It was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 6 is create magical moments. Fred is the king of pop-up shows, including no rollout, no pre-hype. Fans find out first. Every event feels like you're lucky to be there. You had to be in the know. It's alive. It's ephemeral. Fans band together on Discord and Reddit, creating guides to help each other get into the next one. They're marketing through magic, through FOMO, by understanding that every event or sale isn't about maximizing profits, but investing in your love.
Yeah, what's crazy, he's taking the pop-up show mentality to arena tours and selling them out on 3-day notice with zero ad budget. These decisions are backed by direct fan data, not vanity metrics like monthly listeners. Know your fans, know your worth. The best marketing is from the ground up.
You betcha. So number 7 is make fans a main character, kind of like we were talking about. When a fan accidentally paused Fred's decks during his now iconic Boiler Room set, he simply flashed a smile, embraced him, and it became the most memorable moment of the now viral set. Later, Fred invited this fan to accept his Best Live Act award by DJ Magazine. He took the fan's worst moment and made it his best. Lift your fans up. Everyone is in it together.
Yeah, and number 8, be a connector. Fred finds ways to bring people together around his art, like leading a massive community bike ride across London to celebrate the release of Actual Life 3, or facilitating a fan's marriage proposal in the middle of his set. What people want more than anything else is that human connection. This is where dopamine Fred delivers, right?
So really, there is no formula, no rinse and repeat, but there are lessons to learn here. Create direct fan relationships, embrace authenticity, put community first, reward your fans, encourage participation, create magical moments, make fans a main character, and bring people together.
Yeah, community building may be the most important skill that you can have in today's music business. And when done right, community can be the best fuel for momentum and, courting through your magical moments that go viral. The word of mouth is sticky. You've created spaces others want to enter.
Indeed. If you learn all the way in, your reach will grow, and it will last. And by the way, that's from Rob Abelow, a friend of the show, Where Music's Going blog. It's over at wheremusicisgoing.com. Great stuff.
Absolutely. Great job. Last Friday, I pulled the trigger on the newsletter early Friday morning, as I always do. But Billboard released an article by our friend Glenn Peoples with the headline, "Record labels have tried to get radio performance right for decades. Is anything different this time?" And, the United States is the only democratic country in the world where artists don't get paid for radio airplay. Only Iran, North Korea, and China share the United States position on this issue. As a result of not paying artists for radio airplay here in the United States, other democratic countries aren't paying American artists in their countries. This is a big problem.
It is. So another piece of legislation is in Washington, D.C. It's making its way through Congress that would pay artists and record labels for plays at terrestrial radio. If that sentence sounds familiar, that's because the issue has been long going on Capitol Hill without managing to win a presidential signature.
Back in 1988, Frank Sinatra sent a letter to Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, Ella Fitzgerald, Bruce Springsteen, and about 20 other music stars about a decades-old inconsistency in music copyright law. There's no reason why the writer and the publisher should be compensated for radio airplay, but not the performer, he argued.
Right. So Sinatra foresaw an expeditious end to his activism. We are optimistic that with a united effort, we will be able to achieve successful results within a reasonable period of time, he wrote back in the day. But 36 years and numerous legislative attempts later, other artists are still working on the task.
The safest statement of the afternoon, though, went to Subcommittee Chairman Representative Darrell Issa. He admitted the hearing was a repeat of some things we've seen in the past. In recent memory, lawmakers have introduced the Performance Right Act, that was in 2007 and 2009, the Free Market Royalty Act back in 2013, Fair Play, Fair Pay back in 2015 and 2017, and Ask Musicians for Music Act, the AM/FM, and that was back in 2019. And now this, the American Music Fairness Act, which was, the AM/FA brought up in 2022 and 2023, and again now.
Indeed, the AM/FA is like its predecessors in numerous ways. It provides accommodation for small broadcasters that reduce their royalty obligations. It protects the royalties paid to songwriters and music publishers for the performance of musical works on terrestrial radio. More importantly, and most importantly, the bill codifies a performance right for sound recordings.
The main difference between the AM/FA and its predecessors, though, might not be found in the actual language of the bill. Market conditions, they've changed. At Wednesday's hearing, lawmakers seemed more impatient and fed up than in years past.
So in his closing remarks, Subcommittee Chairman Representative Darrell Issa used his bully pulpit to warn broadcasters that congressional intervention would be more painful than a negotiated deal with record labels. He said, "I will tell you that at least this chair and the ranking member of the full committee, we stand ready to negotiate fairly small amounts to change a principle to get this behind us," he said to Curtis Legate, who's the president and CEO of the National Association of Broadcasters. And if you don't take that, then quite frankly, you have to live with the consequences.
Wow. A special shout out to Blake Morgan. I don't know anybody who's worked harder to try to get this corrected. So thank you, Blake, for your tireless work. And, to see that performers in the U.S. are paid when their work is played on the radio. You can sign the petition, support the American Music Fairness Act at irespectmusic.org. This was one of those predictions that I made at the beginning of the year when I do my annual predictions. That I put in there that I thought that this would get rectified this year. And I had a lot of very smart people send me notes saying, yeah, this is not going to happen. This is never going to happen. But I think right now, and according to Glenn Peoples' article, I think we're closer than we've ever been.
I hope so. And just to be clear, so everybody knows, so in almost every territory in the world, when a song gets played on the radio, the artist gets paid as well as the songwriter. And here in the United States, it's only the songwriter. And this has been going on since almost radio began. It had to do with the deal that happened many decades in the past. And it's just stunning that we can't get this over the finish line. It is absolutely ridiculous. And again, it hurts American artists overseas because then they're not compensated.
That's right.
as kind of a quid pro quo. And we're talking about so little money.
That's the point I wanted to make, and I'm so glad you brought that up, is if you read some of these articles, it says, well, this would bankrupt radio stations. No, it's not. It's based on your revenue. And, I think I read one article where if you were generating $1 million a year at your small radio station, that your fee would be like a few $100s. So this isn't going to put anybody out of business. This is a small amount to pay. And yes, there is promotion with radio. But there's promotion with a lot of these things, and you can't build your business on the performers' backs. And I think it's time.
Well, and when you look at the landscape, the business landscape of radio, from what it was in the 30s and 40s and 50s to now, you have these major conglomerates, mostly that control radio stations across the country, and the fact that they can't pay. Couple $100, a day is just absurd. And I hope we can get this across the finish line. It's just terrible. So, hey, well, it's time to wrap up the show. So if you enjoy our show, please tell one friend. Jay and I would certainly appreciate it. Big thanks to Bandzoogle, Music.ai, Hypebot, and Bandsintown, our wonderful sponsors, for helping us put the show on every week. I know Jay and I really, really, really appreciate their support.
Yes, we do.
Indeed. And we appreciate your support for listening in every week. Jay and I do not take that for granted either. So on behalf of my good friend Jay Gilbert, I say thank you. And we will see you next week on the Your Morning Coffee Podcast.
You've been listening to Your Morning Coffee, the weekly music news program for the new music business. Join Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart next time for the digital music news you need to know.